Uninvited. I had always been a light sleeper. Every night I would fall into bed exhausted, but the slightest sound or movement would jolt me awake, my heart pounding in my chest. But one morning I woke up feeling more tired than usual, and I knew something was off. As I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, I reached for my phone to check the time, and that's when I saw the picture. At first I thought it was a trick of light or a glitch in the system, but as I stared at the image of myself sleeping, I felt a creeping sense of dread just crawl all over me. How had someone taken this picture without me knowing? Who had been in my apartment while I slept? I scanned the room, but it was empty. Everything was just as I had left it the night before, except for the sense of violation that hung in the air like a thick fog. I knew I had to do something, but my mind was foggy with exhaustion and fear. I felt like a trapped animal, caged and helpless. As the days went by, I became more and more paranoid. I checked every nook and cranny of my apartment, searching for any signs of intrusion, but there was nothing. And yet the picture remained on my phone, a constant reminder of the violation I had suffered. I stopped sleeping, afraid of what might happen if I let my guard down. Every sound, every creak of the floorboards set my heart racing. I tried to tell myself it was all in my head, but the fear was too real. It wasn't until I started to see strange marks on my body that I realized the true horror of my situation. The marks were small, almost imperceptible, but they were there. Tiny scratches and bruises that seemed to appear out of nowhere. I tried to convince myself that I must have done it in my sleep, but I knew that wasn't true. I felt like a prisoner in my own home, constantly on edge and waiting for the next attack. I tried to reach out for help, but no one seemed to take me serious. They thought I was overreacting, that I was just stressed out or sleep deprived. But I knew the truth. One night, as I lay in bed, too afraid to close my eyes, I heard a sound. It was a soft, whispering sound coming from the darkness. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but as the whispers grew louder, I realized that someone was in my apartment. I sat up in my bed, my heart pounding in my chest, and reached for my phone. The picture was gone, replaced by a message that read, "I'm watching you." My throat tightened with fear, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I screamed, but no one came. The whispers continued, growing louder and more sinister by the second. I could feel the presence of something in the room with me, something that wanted to hurt me. I tried to run, but my legs were like lead. I was trapped, surrounded by darkness and fear. Then I saw it. A figure, shrouded in shadows, stepped into the light. It was wearing a mask, but even through the mask, I could see the glint of madness in its eyes. It moved towards me, its hands reaching out to grab me. I fought back, kicking and screaming, but it was no use. The figure was too strong, too fast. It pinned me down, its breath hot and foul on my face. And then it whispered in my ear, "I've been watching you for a long time. I know everything about you. And now I'm going to make you pay." As the figure moved towards me, I could see its silhouette growing larger and more menacing, casting a shadow across the room. Its fingers were long and thin like sharpened knives, and its breath reeked of death and decay. It was getting closer, and I could feel the cold sweat starting to beat on my forehead. I scrambled to get away, but my legs wouldn't obey me. The figure's grip was too strong, and it pinned me down to the bed. Its weight was heavy, crushing me under its body, and I gasped for breath as I felt its fingers digging into my flesh. The whispers grew louder, and I could hear them now, hissing and rasping in my ear. They were incoherent at first, but as the figure started to lean in a lot closer, they started to make sense. "I've been watching you," it said, its voice barely above a whisper. "I know everything about you." I could feel the panic rising inside me, the fear turning my stomach into a knot. I had no idea who this figure was or what it wanted from me. All I knew was that it was here to hurt me. The figure pulled back its mask, revealing its face. Its skin was a sickly pale color, its eyes sunken in black. It looked like something out of a nightmare, something that shouldn't exist in the real world. And then it spoke again, its voice filled with malice. And now I'm going to make you pay. I tried to scream, but my voice caught in my throat. The figure's finger dug deeper into my flesh, and I felt the warm wetness of blood pooling around me. It was then that I realized I was truly alone. There was no one who could help me, no one who could hear my screams. I was at the mercy of this monster, this thing that had invaded my home. The next few hours were a blur of pain and terror. I don't remember much of what happened, except for the feeling of being violated in every way imaginable. When it was finally over, the figure disappeared into the night, leaving me broken and alone. For weeks after that night, I was too afraid to leave my apartment. I would sit in my room, staring at the walls, waiting for the figure to come back. But it never did. And eventually, I started to forget. I tried to put the whole thing behind me, to move on with my life. But the picture remained on my phone, a constant reminder of the horror that I suffered that night. And every time I looked at it, I knew that I would never truly be safe again.